RLCraft, the easiest mod pack ever created. But what if we made it even harder? What if mobs could track us from 50 blocks away? What if every time we took damage, we left blood behind for mobs to track us from even further? What if we doubled, tripled, no, quadrupled how fast mob spawners spawn mobs? What if we made dungeons even harder with extreme bosses? What if we made the Ender Dragon and Wither even harder? What if we buffed Asmodeus and Rahalbart and we fought them at the same time? Well, welcome to RLCraft Plus. Let's get into it. Day 1, I spawned into the world excited for a new adventure. However, the first thing that happened was a Lycanite mob attacked me and gave me a poison effect, and I sprinted away for my life. Thankfully, there was a shack there, which was my only saving grace, otherwise I would have been dead. Thankfully, the shack had some preliminary tools in it, so I didn't have to go through the grindy stages of getting flint tools. I continued the day by grabbing some cobblestone from this structure so I could make the next set of tools. I then went on a mission to slaughter every innocent animal within my radius to collect their experience points and their drops. While searching for more innocent animals to slaughter, I found a battle tower that was crumbling, which is perfect because all the holes in it allowed the spawners not to spawn any mobs, so I could go in and destroy all the spawners with my brand new stone pickaxe and gain a ton of XP. Near the end of day 1, I decided that I wanted to try and tame a rock. However, halfway through cooking my chicken, I realized I didn't have any bones to create the avian treats with. Lucky for me, there was a village right across the lake, so I quickly ran over to it and I slept in the village. I began day 2 by looting the village. I went to the librarian and found all these enchanted books. However, I knew I wouldn't be able to hold on to them as I needed my inventory space for other valuable items. If they had been important books, I would have kept them, but since they weren't important, I left them behind. Next, I went for a vantage point of where I was going to try and see my rock from. It's always good to be as high as you can when you're looking for the rocks, because they're always going to be above the trees. Next, I waited to actually get my rock. While waiting for my rock, I noticed a battle tower, so I decided to go to the top and just take off the top 2 spawners. The top 2 spawners can't spawn any mobs since there's daylight up there. I didn't want to venture any further, but it gave me a bit more experience points. I then pillared up to stay above all the other hostile mobs, and I began looking for my first rock. I eventually found him, tamed him, and flew away to sleep. Day 3. While I was flying around on my rock, I saw this really cool Reiko, so I decided, you know what, rock, you've served your purpose for the 10 seconds I've had you, I'm going to tame this Reiko instead. So I did, and then the rock kept following me around after, not sure why. I then used this mask to craft a fishing rod as I needed it to use anything on battle towers. While I was flying around, I noticed a roguelike dungeon. I was not excited to take this on later. Those spawners are going to be absolutely insane. While I was flying around a bit more, I noticed a bunch of bandits on the ground. I think this is one of the Chocolate Quest add-ons. Also not excited to try and fight those guys. They look quite dangerous. I then realized I had no arrows, so I dove to the bottom of this lake, grabbed some gravel, and crafted some arrows. And then, just to spite me, I found a village 2 seconds later with a bunch of arrows in a chest. To close out the day, I unfortunately didn't find any battle towers, but I found this new dungeon that I was not excited to see what boss was lying inside of. Day 4. I began the morning of day 4 with finding my first battle tower. For those of you who don't know, you can fish the battle tower golem off by using a fishing rod and a bow and arrow. Simply pull him towards you with the fishing rod and then shoot him with a bow and he goes flying, and then you can collect all the loot on the top floor. In the early stages, I wouldn't recommend doing any of the other floors because you will most likely get absolutely obliterated. On the morning of day 4, I found my house. This was going to be my house for the entire series. It looked really cool. It's kind of like a Japanese style thing. I kind of wanted to do some renovations to it, but for now it was going to suit me just fine to put my stuff in, and then I could continue looting and not worry about inventory space. I continued looting on day 4, and I found this raft. It had some golden apples in it, some runes, and some other small items. Nothing too notable, so I continued looting. I found another battle tower and quickly disposed of the golem and stole all of the loot. After looting the battle tower, I was finally able to craft a soul stone. In RLCraft, you can use the soul stone to bind your flying creature to you so that you can respawn him if he dies. I was finally able to bind the rock so I could get rid of him, because it wouldn't let me kill him. While I was flying around looking for my next looting, I noticed a new ship that I had not seen. I was not excited to explore that, because I bet there was something on there that wanted to kill me. I then found another battle tower and proceeded to knock the golem off and steal all of his loot. I was going to loot a few more battle towers before I thought I was ready to take on a dragon. Day 5. I was still looting battle towers and rafts throughout the sea. I find it the best if you go into the middle of the ocean to find these battle towers, as nothing else can spawn, therefore they have a higher chance of spawning. Near the end of the day, I found one of the giant dungeons. I decided that this time around, instead of going for dragon armor off the bat, I was going to go for these dungeons right away and get their regen loot and just the amazing stuff that they have. But to do that, I needed to get a little bit more prepared. Day 6. I spent a lot of time looting underwater structures, looking for enchanted books. These are great early game structures if you're looking for enchanted books to put on some basic gear. Day 7. I knew I was pretty close to being able to take on one of those big dungeons, but I knew I needed a little bit more loot, so I continued battle towering to get some more XP tomes and to get some more different items to see if I get some good baubles. Day 8. I decided to go looking for battle towers on land this time as I was getting tired of looking at an endless ocean of blue. Day 9. I noticed this insane pirate ship. I really wanted to take it on, but I knew with my leather jacket and my earbuds I wasn't going to stand much of a chance, so I just looked with glee and made plans for later for when I was going to come and absolutely obliterate everybody. Later that day I found this cool cavern looking thing, so I decided to go inside and steal all of their items, hoping that they wouldn't kill me. All that was in there was some food items, but it was a very good place to note for later, as one of the people in there traded 2 emeralds and a golden apple for a notch apple. This was going to come in crucial. Day 10. I began the day by finding one of these giant mansions. These are amazing because the top floor chest has these enchanted books in it, ranging from anything to mending to advanced protection. These can definitely jumpstart you in the game should you get good enough RNG. The game then decided to bless me with a Bloodmoon. If you don't know what a Bloodmoon is, you basically cannot sleep, and the mobs are way harder and they spawn in way more amplification. If I had gone anywhere near a spawner at this point, I would have been absolutely obliterated with the new rates we had added. Day 11. I began the day by finding this sea serpent that decided to make its home on land. However, the den discovered did not have legs and it could not move, so I bowed it from a safe distance and I killed my first dragon serpent. Day 12. I spent the day looting and finding some more battle towers. I then ended up finding this little village enclosed by a wall. It had some decent loot in it and I spent most of the day investigating it and seeing what trades the villagers had. I ended off the day by recalling back to my home and sleeping. Day 13. I decided that if I wanted to take on some more battle towers, I needed stronger armor. So I built an anvil so I could start enchanting my Tide Guardian armor set so I could start taking on some tougher mobs. I spent the rest of the day looting some battle towers on my way to the big battle dungeon itself. Day 14. I began the day by looting one more battle tower and then I headed down to the big dungeon itself. To loot this dungeon at my level, I knew I couldn't go straight in because if I went straight in, I would immediately die. Okay, now I understand that I just went straight in, but I didn't go straight into the main dungeon. I went straight into the dungeon above that. You have to kill the Vex spawners before you can actually go into the dungeon itself. Once you've cleared out the Vex spawners, you can now go to the 4 corners of the dungeon. In each of these corners, there are spawners. Once you kill the spawners, you're now safe for the top floor looting. The top floor has the best loot in it. I wouldn't even recommend going to the other floors until you have much stronger armor. The only reason you should ever go to them is if you want to kill the mobs in there for even more experience points. While I was gathering my loot, unfortunately I didn't get any regen rings from this tower, but this took up most of the day and I went to the next tower for the next day. Day 15 was pretty similar. I started out by flying to the next dungeon, dropped into the Vex spawners, and broke them first. Then I went down a level, did my 4-corner strategy, and bowed whatever mobs remained. Again, I didn't find any regen rings this time. These towers are really good for finding them, but I was 2 for 2 unfortunately on not finding them. But I did find a bunch of XP tomes, a bunch of other useful items, a bunch of enchanted books that it could be used. I found some mending books, I found a vitality book. It was great loot, but wasn't the regen rings. To really advance into the game, you do need regen rings, and I just hadn't gotten them yet. There was one more tower to go, and I was crossing my fingers that I would find some. Day 16. I began the day by sorting out my inventory a bit, getting everything ready, and then heading off to the last battle tower itself. I did the 4-corner strategy once again after killing the Vex spawners on the top. I then bowed the remaining mobs. This one took a little bit longer, a couple more mobs spawned than usual, but we were all good after that, and I looted the tower, and thankfully there were regen rings in it in the 3rd last tower, which was completely awesome, which now means I can now go try and do some tougher dungeons and see what other loot awaits me. Day 17. I started out the day by flying around on my mount until a man with a wand decided to electrify my mount and kill it. I thought it was Thor, so I immediately ran away. I then decided to farm some wheat after that horrific occasion while I was waiting for my animal to respawn. While mining for some wheat, this thing spawned and tried to kill me. I don't know what I did. Definitely didn't punch any villagers. And then I continued the day. I looted one more battle tower, and then I saw this really cool ship flying thingy. I had tried to attack the Blight until he decided to plummet to his death and jump off of the flying ship. I then decided it would not be a good idea to try and attack the flying ship, so I left. Day 18. I began the day by breaking a bunch of wheat in another one of these farms. I stole all of the experience points and then went on my way. I then found a village and quickly looted the librarian hut. The librarian hut has some really good enchanted books in it from time to time. It also has this really cool hidden feature where if you hit this button, a chest will pop out of a bookshelf. However, this villager kept getting in my way, so I decided just to kill him because he just wouldn't stop standing in front of the button. After which, the enchanted books were crap, so I really didn't need to kill that villager. I also could have just broken the bookshelf, but you know what? It was convenience. I then, at the end of the day, found this amazing 4-tower battle tower, stole the loot out of the top towers, marked it for later, and then went on with my night. Day 19. This was the day I decided that I was going to kill my first dragon. I had procrastinated it for long enough. It was so much effort to hold the bow down for that long, but I decided it would be time to go and kill him. So I flew out, and I jumped off my Reiko midair just to prove that I was that cool, and landed in a water bucket because that is somewhat skillful inside of Minecraft, I've heard. I then attempted to kill him, and then I realized, oh, I should probably get some golden apples. So I returned home, and then found a different dragon, killed that dragon, stole all of his scales, returned home again, and began building my new set of armor. When I returned home, I built two crucial things, a dragon eye and a dragon saber. The reason I wanted the dragon saber was because it's my favorite weapon inside of the game, and I wanted to start building off of enchants on it. And the reason I built the dragon eye was that it prevents you from fire damage, and if I was going to be fighting a lot more fire mobs, it was going to be quite useful. Day 20, I decided I was going to take on my first roguelike dungeon, but I needed a bit more experience points to be able to use my saber. A saber requires 24 attack, and I didn't quite have that yet, so I went to the nearest battle tower and fought it. Remember when I told you that the spawner rates were increased? This is what I mean. Yeah. After the battle tower, I headed off to go and find a roguelike. Day 21. I found the roguelike dungeon and I jumped right in like a pog champ. I decided to start looting some of the materials inside, such as anvils, as they're very useful, so you don't have to use your iron up. I had an endgame idea for all the ores I was going to use. I cleared out the first floor on day 21, and also spent some time eating some snacks. This dungeon was going to be insane with these spawner rates. Roguelike dungeons are composed of 4 floors, from a basic floor all the way down to another floor. The bottom 2 floors generally have pretty good loot, and the top 2 floors are generally only useful for actually killing the mobs and getting the experience points off of that. Usually the last floor, the nether floor, is the most difficult, but it turned out really good because I put myself inside of a little hidey hole, and I just attacked mobs from a distance, and then I looted all of the chests. There's some pretty good enchants, and some pretty good weapons, and some pretty good apples that I found inside of these chests, which really set me up for what was coming up next. Day 26. Now that I had enough armor, I decided to fully take on one of those huge towers. So I flew to the closest one, and I took down the first floor. I did it pretty safely because, again, the spawners do spawn at a much higher rate, so I had to be very cautious with how I approach this, otherwise I would get absolutely obliterated. Day 27. After fighting in there for a little while, I decided to just jump to the bottom floor. This is what happens when you turn spawner ratios up and you go to the bottom floor of one of these towers. It is absolutely insane. If you go into that mob over there, you will die very quickly no matter what you're wearing. Day 28. I decided to go back to the 4 towers and to loot the rest of it and to take the XP from all of the mobs. I really wanted some wither skeleton skulls, and this is the perfect place to do it. I'm going to roll a quick time lapse of this dungeon.
Feel free, and I just wanna be me. Yeah, I just wanna go so crazy. I just wanna be a freak. Yeah, I just wanna rise to the top. Yeah, I just wanna go reach the peak. So I've been really well focused on success. Hey, y'all will see. Yeah, you won't see that I will get it. Cause I'm really focused, man. I make it with the rap and I just follow my path. I just follow my passion. To me, this is what's precious. Yeah, in my soul, man, I can feel it. So every single verse, man, I just gotta go and kill it, man. I gotta be the kid. I could be the guy taking you wild. I could be the villain. Good as okay. Lately I'm painting my path on my way. Yeah, I got no time that I can waste. So I've been sitting in the space. Yeah, making rest every day. Man, you know that I go insane. Yeah, I hit you with a bullet to the brain. Let us stop first cause we going insane. You don't know what I'm gonna do. You don't know what is next. And I'm loving the fact, truly it's making me blessed. Cause I work on my team, no snakes in the grass. And we have been trusting the wind because of the work that we did in the past. Because of the work that we did in the past. When we went to hours, you barely got breath. So
Day 29. I began the day by going out to loot. While looting, I saw this ant's nest. Now, although these guys drop absolutely no loot except for a Myrmic's Stinger, I decided to jump in anyway and slay everything in my way. I killed the queen so that no more of her spawn would be reproduced. In the early game, these guys are actually really difficult because they poison you, but as soon as you have a bauble that prevents poison, they're pretty much a cakewalk, and I slayed everybody inside of the dungeon. That night I found a new dungeon, I believe, from Lycanites. I'd never seen this dungeon before, so I delved right in and I attacked everything in sight. Unfortunately, there was no good loot, but I did get a little bit of experience. Day 30, I returned to avenge my blight that had fallen off into the abyss. I decided that I was going to absolutely obliterate everybody on this ship and see what kind of loot they had to offer. After killing the pirate captain, I went to inspect the loot. There was pretty much nothing of value in there. Sucky captain. While flying around some more, I found another one of my wheat fields. I love these things, so I harvested it immediately for the XP. Day 31, I found another one of these dungeons and I decided to plummet right into it and immediately attack everything, until I realized they all had swords and armor and I quickly ran away. Then I realized, wait a second, I have better armor, so I ran back in and began attacking everything once again. Once I got to one of the bottom layers, it said loot and had an arrow pointing the opposite direction of the hallway. With my amazing IQ, I said, ha, that's a trick, so I went the opposite direction and immediately got hit by a bunch of sand. I survived, though. I faced the first of two bosses known as the temporary boss. Unfortunately, he had eaten a bit too much chicken, and he couldn't fit up the stairs, so I stood at the top, and I shot at him. That was a slight defect, I'm sure, in the modding config. Day 32. I spent the morning trying to find what would only be known as Shelob. I then mined through a wall and discovered, aha, she was hiding behind it, under the floor. Not exactly sure why she was there, but I attacked with vengeance, and I was able to completely dismantle her and her little minions. I then went through to find her loot, which was actually pretty good. It had some pretty good enchants on some of the armor items. Unfortunately, I couldn't take all of them off. I can only take off the top enchant, but all in all, it was a pretty good loot run, and I continued my day. I went back to my home base to completely flex on everybody with all the loot that I'd gotten, and to put it all into organized slots so I know what I had. I then decided to leap onto the top of battle towers and begin smacking the battle tower golems around to get some more loot instead of simply just bowing them off. I didn't want to make fishing rods, so I decided I would just kill them all instead. Day 33. I decided it was time to finally fight the Ender Dragon. Now remember, I did put progressive bosses inside of this mod pack, meaning every single time we respawn him, he will get tougher and tougher. I was curious to see what the first iteration would be like, so I delved right in. Here's a time lapse of the first battle. Day 35 and 36, I started my quest to look for shulkers. However, on my way I found a bunch of these tall endermen. Out of these endermen there's a bunch of golden blocks, so I spent a bunch of time mining out all the golden blocks as I would need them for a later idea. Day 37 and 38, I took a few more golden blocks and then I started going for battle towers as I couldn't find any end structures anywhere for shulkers. I decided it would be the best idea just to bow the golems and then go and take the top chest. I found that to be the easiest and there was a ton of battle towers everywhere, so it's worked out really well. Days 39 and 40, I did some more miscellaneous looting. Nothing really to note here, I still couldn't find anything with shulkers anywhere. I'd never had so much unluck when it comes to finding end cities. Finally, on days 41 to 42, we found our first end city, and we also raided a couple more battle towers. We were able to get 6 shulker shells, which is enough to make 3 shulker cases, which is all we needed for the furthermore looting we would do before we could fight Asmodeus and Rahavard. Day 43, after returning from the end to the overworld, I decided I wanted to fight a dragon and to potentially get an egg. I had marked a few spots on my atlas where I had seen the dragons appear just above the sea level, so I went right to them. Unfortunately, the first dragon did not drop an egg, and I was very disappointed in this, but I had one more marked, and I was crossing my fingers they would drop an egg. Upon attacking the second dragon, it decided it would vacate the premises, and completely flew out of its own dungeon. I was quite confused by this, so I threw on my fairy ring and I began the chase. I chased her down for her eggs, and I began to shoot her with my bow many a time until finally she fell, and thankfully I got 1 egg from her. Not as lucky as I've been before where I've gotten 2 eggs, but I was content with it because I had an idea of what I wanted to do with this dragon. Day 45. I wanted to spawn my new dragon inside of the Nether. I didn't know if I could spawn it in the overworld and have it on my shoulder and walk through the portal, so to be safe, I made sure I would hatch it inside of the Nether. However, when I was in there, I got distracted by this cool city thingy, and like an awful parent, I ran away from my egg while it was hatching, and unfortunately something broke it. I could still pick it back up, but the hatching process had to be done twice. Day 46. After my dragon spawned, I went back into the overworld to start preparing the second part of my master plan. Day 47. I knew I needed to find a golem helmet if I wanted to fight Asmodeus and Rahalvard at the same time, so I could be the strongest possible. A golem helmet with a dragon chestplate are the 2 strongest things you can have for the vitals on your body. So I began questing for runes. The ocean is the best place to find these, so I headed straight over. On day 48, I continued to hunt for runes. I brought some shulkers with me so I could fill them up full of runes, as each rune crafts a different item. Ice and fire, the runes will convert into stuff like pickaxes, axes, all sorts of things. You won't necessarily get what you want. What I'm looking for is a very specific item, the golem helmet. It has a unique crafting recipes that only the runes can show, so we have to unlock it by using the right rune. On day 49, while I was out looking for runes, I found a kraken. I immediately slayed it. It wasn't that tough. I was kind of expecting more of a fight. It also didn't drop very many good things. On day 50, I wrapped up my looting of the runes, grabbed a couple more from some rafts I had seen, and then I headed back home. Day 51, I began looting a bit more. I stumbled upon this village, took all of its loot including the enchanted books, and went on my way and looted a few more battle towers. Days 52 to 53, I found one of these brand new dungeons and I decided to explore it. I absolutely started wrecking everything and I thought it was going to be a very easy dungeon. And then I found this man named Big Earl and I said, "Hello, Big Earl," and then began to swat him with my sword. But then I walked into the main room and I found the Necromancer. Now you might think to yourself, wow, this mob's going to be tough. And he was a little bit tough, but he was not the main boss here. There was an infernal mob that literally took me 20 minutes of bow shots, including me having to recall back home to get god apples to kill. This guy was the hardest mob inside of RLCraft I have ever faced, no cap. Day 54. As I was preparing for Asmodeus, I went back to the tavern that had those enchanted apples, and I traded them some apples and some emeralds for some enchanted apples. I'd wish I brought more emeralds with me, but I'd forgot that I was going there. I then headed back home and created the golem helmet. I had to collect a few more resources as the helmet usually requires some random resources. Every single world it requires a new recipe so you can never look it up, and it's always unique to that world. Thankfully, it didn't ask for any music discs. You see, in RLCraft, there's only a set number of music discs that spawn in dungeons, unfortunately, and none of them are the ones that are used to craft golem armor. So thankfully, the helmet didn't require it. The other body parts did, so I didn't bother making them. I then used the reforging station to make sure my baubles and everything were at max strength. The reforging station can change its secondary ability. Every weapon in bauble has a secondary ability which can be negative or positive. The reforging station can change it. I went for legendary on every single item to make sure I was the strongest possible. Days 55 and 56. I went back into the end as I needed some soul stones to spawn Rahalvard and Asmodeus, and the end is the easiest place to find the Lycanite dungeons. While I was looking for them, I took on some battle towers and some general loot along the way. Day 57. I found my first Lycanite dungeon, but unfortunately half of it was corrupted. So while searching through it, I only found one of the bosses. I then found a way out, so I decided just to go and look for another one, as I don't think this one was set up properly. While I was looking for the next Lycanite dungeon, I took on some more battle towers, as I needed some special resources from them for an idea I had for fighting Asmodeus and Rahalvard. Day 58. I found a new Lycanite dungeon, and I plunged right in right away. I made sure to take my time on each floor to make sure the spawners expired, so I collect the most XP possible. I took care of the first boss with ease, stole his loot, and then headed down to the next level. Day 59. I cleared the next floor slowly again, making sure I got all the experience points, and absolutely exploited the Lycanite dungeon for everything it had, and then I attacked the Hound as the second boss inside of the dungeon. Day 60. After clearing the last floor, I found the final boss inside of the dungeon. I took him out with ease. I meleeed him a little bit to make it a bit more fair, but at the end of the day my bow just does more damage, so I decided to bow him to death instead. After I finished the dungeon, I began looking for another one, taking out some battle towers along the way, of course. While searching for another Lycanite dungeon, I noticed a ship with a dragon head on it. I really wanted the dragon head, so I went and took it. Day 61. I started out the day by killing another battle tower golem. That was exciting. And then I found another Lycanite dungeon, which was perfect. This would be the last one I would need before I could fight Asmodeus and Rahalvard. The first boss in this dungeon was something called Precious. I think they really have to work on their naming scheme because this is the farthest thing from Precious that I have ever seen. Day 62. I took on the next floor, but this time I made sure to take all the bones from all of the chests, as they were going to be an essential part to killing Asmodeus and Rahalvard. I then entered the second boss, the Chaos Serpent. I have a problem with this guy simply because he doesn't look like a snake at all. Like, I don't know where they got the naming scheme of calling him a Chaos Serpent. I think he looks more like a Chaos Gremlin, but you know what? I fought him nonetheless and got all of his loot. My character is so happy from killing that guy that he decided to start dancing randomly, uncontrollably, until everything inside of existence decided to attack me. I guess they have something against dancing. I found the third and last boss pretty quickly after, called the Nightshade, and quickly disposed of him. The Nightshade isn't exactly the strongest boss, so I'm not sure why he's the third boss in this dungeon, because generally the third boss is the toughest, but nonetheless, we took care of him anyway. On day 63, we started making our way back to the portal and taking out battle towers along the way. Day 64. I began the day by going to the nether to get some nether wart, as I needed it for a crafting recipe for the soul stones to spawn the two main bosses inside of Lycanites. I then began the crafting recipes to actually create the soul stones themselves. I needed a couple extra blocks. Thankfully they were nearby my house, such as cobblestone, to convert into a specific type of rock that the soul stones needed, and I finished the original crafting recipes that I needed to get ready. Days 65 and 66. These were big days as I decided to finally fight the Wither. Now remember, there's progressive bosses inside of this mod pack, so every time I fight him, he's going to get tougher and tougher, and I was ready for him. I killed 4 of them, and then I headed back home and began tweaking the rest of my gear. I hadn't done my sword to legendary yet. I wanted everything to be mint condition before I took on the 2 hardest bosses in the game at the same time. I then headed into the nether to preemptively set up the beacons. The beacons would help me in fighting both the bosses at the same time, as they're essentially just bauble effects, and this way I'd be even more powerful. All of the valuable blocks I've been collecting the entire game, including from the battle towers, now was the time to use them. I created a max beacon structure. Unfortunately, I only had 2 beacons to use, as the other 2 nether stars I had to use for soul keys, so I could actually spawn the 2 powerful bosses, but 2 would be fine, because they would give me the resistance I needed and the strength that I needed. Day 67. I did the final preparing by giving myself all the XP that I had saved up, and maxing out every skill that I could, so that I have the best chance of defeating both these guys at the same time. After glitching through the bedrock with an ender pearl, I began to set up the first altar, only to notice that there was a giant hole in the bedrock from a battle tower that I could have literally just climbed up. Well, I guess I know how I'm getting back down now. I then built and spawned Asmodeus, the strongest of the Lycanite bosses, but I wasn't done there. For some reason, the game does not allow you to build inside of the radius that the boss is in. It's like they don't want you to spawn 2 bosses at once or something. Not sure why, but we bypassed that so we could spawn Rahalvard. Finally, there I was, face to face with the 2 hardest bosses in the game, with my secret weapon in hand. Day 68. Do you remember when I said we were taking all the bones from the Lycanite dungeons for a secret project? And we were taking all the raw meat from the villages inside that nether fortress? This was the reason why. Because when you do that, you can create what's called dragon meal. And dragon meal essentially bone meals your dragon to a max dragon level. And then I pulled my dragon horn out and I summoned the most powerful mob inside of the game to fight the 2 strongest bosses inside of the game. However, the game hated me and decided to have a dragon event right then and there, and spawned at least 20 dragons around, as the 2 bosses were fearful of what was about to happen to them. I had to take a slight detour from fighting the 2 most powerful bosses in the game to take care of the 8 million dragons that had spawned right outside of the base that I had spawned the 2 bosses in. Once I took care of the dragons that were nearby, I hopped back on Dragon Boy, and I went for the 2 bosses and began raining hellfire upon their heads. Day 69. I figured I would target one of the bosses and take them out first. The game was a bit laggy and a bit glitchy with spawning both in at the same time, so I knew the quicker I could get rid of one, the better, and the easier it would be to fight the other one. I used my dragon for part of it, but eventually I found he did not really do enough damage, so I got off of him and began to bow Asmodeus. After a little bit of fighting, we were able to take down Asmodeus, and we only had 1 boss remaining. So I hopped back on Dragon Boy and put a full charge towards the final boss inside of the game.
Sleep. Oh, Dragon Boy's hurt.
You know what? Let's just leave Dragon Boy there. Oh, Dragon Boy is still getting hurt. Okay, Dragon Boy, you just stay there. Yeah, you breathe fire on things. You stay safe. Alright. Alright, Ralhover he's really having trouble registering some of these shots here. Okay, I might have to kill this guy. Not too sure. Oh, he's registering. Oh, and he's shooting. He's shooting. Alright, Dragon Boy, you stay safe over there. Try to get yourself killed. Yeah, you take a nap. Good job. Good job. Nap time. Nap time for Dragon. Oh, wall of fire. That's nice. Always do appreciate a good wall of fire. Alright. Perish. Perish, you fool. Okay. We are so close. I mean, not really, but kind of. Okay. You know what? Let's go full stack mode here. Alright. Alright, the stack mode is quickly getting, okay, eating burrito. Alright. You are going down, my boy. You are going down. Ain't nobody stopping me from beating this game. Alright, come on. Come on. Alright, quarter health, I would say. Quarter health, maybe? Still hasn't done his wall of fire yet, which is handy. I mean, he's done fire walls, just not his moving wall. Alright, Dragon Boy is still taking a nap. Oh, that thing's about to wake Dragon Boy up. Alright, that's nice. Okay. Oh, Dragon Boy is like, nah, I'm good, thanks. Good, thanks, fam. He's sleeping in the middle of the biggest battle he's ever going to be in. Wow, that's nice. Oh, wow. Okay, that's a thing he's doing. Alright, that's nice. Oh, Dragon Boy's taking damage. I don't know. I think he's impenetrable. I don't know why he's impenetrable, but he's not taking damage. So, oh, these guys got some really. Oh, wow. All right. Is he still impenetrable? I can't tell. Hello there. You're really weird looking. I don't like you. All right. Not quite sure. Okay, he's taking damage now. All right, Dragon Boy. Yeah, Dragon Boy, wake up. Attack him, Dragon Boy. Finish him off. Alright, Dragon Boy's not really... Oh, okay, Dragon Boy's just sitting there. Alright, he's like, hey guys, what's up? Oh, yes, breathe fire on things. Good job. Oh, he breathed fire on him. Oh, he's such a good dragon. Alright, no idea where Rahavar is. He's kind of shooting at stuff. Oh, there he is. A lot of fire going on here. Alrighty. Oh, don't shoot the dragon, Nathan. Yes, Dragon, continue to shoot fire at him. He's so close. I've almost got him. We've almost got him. Come on. Come on. And... No! Dragon! No! You son of a... Oh, Where is he? Where is he? I'm attacking him with a health potion. Dragon. It's okay, buddy. No, you're just sleeping, right? Okay. Can you die, please? Guys, it's not in the mood. No. Dragon? Wait. Let me just drink some of this. Oh, there's my bow. I can't see. Dragon? You alright? No. We were so close.
Day 71. Every time Rahavart or Asmodeus dies, they drop enough loot to respawn them 3 times over, and I was going to take vengeance for what they did to my dragon, so I spawned Rahavart again, and I killed him. Day 72. I wasn't finished with Rahavar yet. He was going to pay for what he had done to my dragon. So I respawned him and began attacking him again and killed him again. Day 73. I wanted the soul of Rahavar. So I spawned him again. And even though he had given me his soul plenty of time before, I wanted more and I wanted more for what he had done to my dragon. Day 74, I was still grieving for my dragon. I wasn't going to let Asmodeus off the hook either, so I respawned him and I killed him again and stole all of his loot and took his soul. Day 75, I spawned Asmodeus again out of pure grief for what he had done in taking part in killing my dragon. But as time passed, I started to realize that no matter how many times I killed the most powerful bosses in the game, my dragon would not come back. No matter how many souls I took, no matter how many arrows I shot, no matter how many blades I shattered, my dragon was dead, and I had to move on. Day 76. There was one more boss inside of the game that I needed to take out, but before that, I really needed to do some organizing around the house and rebuild the house a little bit, as there was a lot of holes in the floor and I kept falling through them and it was quite inconvenient. So I ran out and I started mining some stone so I could start building a floor inside of my house so I could at least have a platform to stand on. I quickly realized it was quite futile to try and mine without Silk Touch, so I went back to the house, grabbed Silk Touch, and then came back down to continue mining and gathered a ton of stone. Day 77. I finished destroying the floor, and I put in the new floor just to add a bit of consistency. I know I'm not exactly an amazing builder, but this definitely looks better than it did before. Day 78. I wanted to make an independent storage room that was on a different floor, so I began to start mining out beneath my house. I know it's not exactly smart to dig a giant hole below your house because it'll most likely collapse, but it's Minecraft, so physics don't apply here. Day 79. There was a lot of debris to clear out from under my house, and I spent most of the day just mining the stone and getting rid of the dirt and watching my Netflix show, which season 2 just ended, and I'm now quite sad. Day 80. I placed the floor down and began to work on the walls, removing some of the blocks that were there and getting ready to place the new ones. I was going to just go with the simple oak wood and oak log style. Day 81. This might have been one of the most painful days inside of the game. I spent the entire day transferring items from upstairs to downstairs. I didn't know I had so much crap, but I'm very thankful now that it's sorted, because that was a nightmare. Day 82. I wanted to go back and kill the Ender Dragon a few times to see how difficult he got, but to do that I wanted to craft some beacons first. However, to craft some beacons I really needed glass, so I went down and grabbed some sand to start working on the rest. I then headed back into the nether to destroy the beacons that I had there and to take all the valuable blocks, as I was rich, but not that rich. I spent the rest of the day doing some cleanup. I found one of these cool skulls and I decided to see what it did and ended up blowing a hole in my wall. Yeah, we just kind of left that there. I then created some waystones. If you don't know what waystones are, they're essentially telepads. You can put them cross-dimensional or across as many blocks as you want, and they're all connected and you can teleport from one to the other. Day 83. I arrived in the end, and I placed a waystone down so that I could easily teleport back and forth. I then crafted my beacon in the end, and I set it to resistance 2 and strength 1. I felt this would give me the optimal ability should the Ender Dragon get too difficult, as he will get harder and harder the more times I fight him. To close out day 83, I was able to kill him once and steal his soul. Unfortunately, he did not drop a dragon egg. I really wanted a couple dragon eggs for an idea I had, but one would have to work for now. Day 84. I killed the Ender Dragon again, and then I went back home. Unfortunately, again, only one dragon egg in hand. I went and then created a shrine for Dragon Boy inside of the house. He really liked napping, so I decided to put the shrine next to my bed. Probably a horrible place to put an end crystal, but you know what? We don't believe in death around here, so we decided that we'd be pog and do it anyway. Anything for Nappy Dragon Boy. Day 85. I decided I wanted to go and get a dragon before the series ended, so I got on my mount and I began searching for the long-lost man. Day 86. I was still searching for that dragon. He was going to be mine. Day 87. Still no dragon in sight, but I was not giving up yet. Day 88. I still wasn't able to spot one and I was getting quite fearful that I wasn't going to have enough time. Day 89. Still searching for the dragon. Day 90. I was finding more mountains, but no dragons. Day 91. I was still looking for the dragon. If you haven't figured it out by now, the strategy that I'm using is looking for the top of the dragon lair. Sometimes they poke about above ground. But I was still not able to find one. Day 92. Still no luck. Day 93. I was still searching and had not found one. Day 94 to 98.
I had to decide at this point what I wanted to do, if I wanted to pursue this dragon, or if I wanted to accomplish some other things, and in my mind, there was only one thing left to do in this series, and that was get my dragon back. Day 99. After 3 hours of flying, I found it. I immediately rushed into the lair and began attacking him at full force, crossing my fingers it was going to be a female, and it would drop an egg. It dropped an egg, and I was in a race against time to have it hatched before the series ended, so I immediately recalled back to my home. Day 100. As I waited for my dragon egg to spawn, all I could do is run in circles and pray that nothing came in and blew it up so that it wouldn't reset the spawn time. I really wanted the dragon before the day ended. And then, it spawned, and my final goal of RLCraft Plus was completed, of having a maxed out dragon after I killed Asmodeus and Rahavard. As per tradition in our 100 Days videos, I went to the top of the house with my dragon, and I watched the sunset. This was an absolutely insane 100 days. We found so many unique ways to speedrun the game, from the 4 corner strategy to everything else we employed. You could honestly finish the game in under 40 days if you were really pushing it and you had a lucky enough spawn. All you need is the 4 corner strategy and a lucky enough time to actually find those dungeons themselves. It's all really up to RNG at the end of the day, so you can't really say that someone's more skillful than somebody else. I saw a lot of comments that are like, oh, you're the best RLCraft player, and I really do appreciate that. But it really is up to RNG at the end of the day. RLCraft isn't necessarily a game based off of skill. It is a game widely based off of RNG and what kind of drops and spawns you get throughout the game. So as much as I may be competent in actually playing the game, it is realistically up to RNG and defines how good you are. With that being said, guys, unless we do a 200 days videos, I think that's going to wrap it up for RLCraft, and we're going to move on to different modded 100 days series. I have an idea for the next one, but if you want to see one, make sure to comment down below what you think is the best series that we could try. If you've made it this far into the video, please hit that subscribe button as you do enjoy this content, and I need subscribers so I can feel like I have clout. With that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.